Quick disclaimer, information in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended to be treated as medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare team before making changes to your diet, lifestyle, supplementation, or medication.
If your cholesterol numbers are creeping up and you've also been diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, it's not a coincidence. There's a very real connection between blood sugar, insulin, and your cholesterol profile, and it's likely not what you've been told.
Welcome to Type 2 Diabetes Talk, the place where we chat about what really works to treat type 2 diabetes and prediabetes naturally with nutrition and lifestyle. If you're looking to optimize blood sugar and A1C, lose weight, reduce medications, and improve your overall health, this is the place to be. Now, here's your host, Type 2 Diabetes Nutrition Specialist, Dr. Jedha.
Hello, wonderful people. Dr. Jedha here, and welcome to episode 104. Today we're diving into a very important topic, the link between diabetes and cholesterol. If you've ever wondered, can diabetes cause high cholesterol? The answer is yes. And today we'll unpack why that happens, what the connection really is, and what you can do about it. This isn't going to be another discussion on good versus bad cholesterol. We've already broken these myths down in episodes 42 and 44, so feel free to go back and listen if you missed them, because they'll provide a great explanation of the HDLs, the LDLs, the good versus bad cholesterol debate. No, today's episode builds on this, taking a closer look at how insulin resistance and high blood sugar directly affect your lipid profile, especially if you're seeing high triglycerides, low HDL, or changes in your LDL. You'll learn the deeper mechanisms behind cholesterol changes in diabetes, what tests actually matter, and most importantly, what actions you can take to improve both your cholesterol and your blood sugar naturally. If you're one of our VIP members, you can go to your health maps to find a detailed step-by-step plan for lowering cholesterol naturally that includes targeting specific aspects like the triglycerides, LDL, and HDL, and exactly what to do with food, supplements, and lifestyle. And if you have questions about your lipid profile or plan, use the monthly member check-ins to get feedback on the direct action to take. Because as you may have heard from Mary's experience that we spoke about in episode 102, by getting help with her lipid profile and the right resources, she found out medication wasn't necessary at all, something her doctor fully supported once he knew the facts as well. Now, as always, this podcast is grounded in science, not hype. Everything we talk about comes from peer-reviewed research and clinical observations working with thousands of people just like you. So let's get into this question. Can diabetes cause high cholesterol? When we think about high cholesterol, most people jump straight to the idea of eating too much fat. They think, well, I better eat egg whites, not the yolks, and cut down on the cheese. But in reality, especially with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, the issue is far more complex, and it has a lot more to do with how your metabolism is functioning, not just what you eat. At the core of both pre and T2 diabetes is insulin resistance, a condition where your body becomes less responsive to the effects of insulin. We've covered this in episode 21 and 70, if you'd like a deep dive into that topic. As a result of insulin resistance, both blood glucose and insulin levels tend to rise. And here's the key part. High insulin and insulin resistance disrupt how your body processes fats, including cholesterol. This disruption leads to a very distinct cholesterol pattern that we often see in people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, and that is higher triglycerides, lower HDL, which is called your good cholesterol, and often more small, dense LDL particles, even if your total LDL looks normal on a standard blood test. Now, why does that matter? Triglycerides are essentially fat molecules made in the liver from excess glucose and insulin. The more sugar and refined carbohydrates in your diet, and the more insulin circulating in your bloodstream, the more likely your liver is going to convert that excess energy into fat and pump it out into your bloodstream in the form of VLDL particles. That's very low density lipoprotein particles. These VLDL particles are the type of particles that are more likely to contribute to plaque buildup in your arteries. And so the key takeaway here is that it is the metabolic state of elevated glucose, elevated insulin, and impaired nutrient handling that creates this perfect storm for the shift toward triglyceride and that small, dense LDL production. At the same time, HDL, the cholesterol that helps clean up excess lipids and carries them back to the liver for processing, this tends to go down. So not only are you producing more of the potentially harmful lipids, you also have less of the protective HDL lipids to clean them up. This cholesterol profile with high triglycerides, low HDL and small dense LDL is known as diabetic dyslipidemia, and it's a hallmark of insulin resistance actually. So yes, diabetes and high cholesterol are absolutely linked. And yes, diabetes can cause high cholesterol, but the root cause isn't the cholesterol itself. It's the metabolic imbalance that comes from chronically high insulin and glucose levels. Because the issue is metabolic, when you start to improve your blood sugar and insulin levels, your cholesterol numbers usually improve right alongside that as well. So simply focusing on getting your blood sugar and A1C levels in a healthy range, well, that cholesterol usually follows without too much additional effort. When it comes to numbers, the wrong ones are often emphasised or rather misunderstood. Most people are told to focus on their total cholesterol or LDL cholesterol number, but those numbers alone often don't tell the full story, especially if you have insulin resistance, prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. The standard lipid panel that most doctors order gives you just a basic snapshot. It tells you your total cholesterol, HDL, LDL, and triglycerides. But it doesn't tell you anything about the quality or functionality of those lipoproteins. And this is where the real risk lies. For example, two people could have the exact same LDL cholesterol level, which might be a bit high. One of them could have mostly large, fluffy LDL particles, which are generally neutral for cardiovascular risk. The other could have mostly small, dense LDL particles, which are more likely to oxidize, penetrate that arterial wall, and trigger inflammation that contributes to plaque buildup. But on paper, in a standard lipid test, the numbers look exactly the same. This is a major reason why so many people are misclassified when it comes to cardiovascular risk, and also when they're put on medications they don't even need. And unfortunately, it happens all the time, as we spoke about in episode 102, people being put on statin medications, like Mary almost was, because their LDL is high, when really they didn't need the medication at all. High LDL cholesterol doesn't necessarily mean anything bad, nor does high total cholesterol. There's a lot more to the picture. In insulin resistance, prediabetes and T2 diabetes, it is far more likely you will have the pattern of that low HDL, high triglycerides, and potentially those small dense LDL particles. And this is why looking at the triglyceride to HDL ratio can be a much better indicator. Ideally, you want that ratio to be under 2 if you're using milligrams per deciliter, or under 0.87 if you're using millimoles per litre. And some experts recommend aiming for even lower ratios. But essentially, the lower the ratio, that triglyceride to HDL ratio, the better your insulin sensitivity and cardiovascular risk profile tends to be, while a higher ratio suggests more insulin resistance and a greater risk of those small, dense LDL particles. If your standard lipid panel comes back with a high indication, there are more advanced tests that can provide a clearer picture. For example, these include LDL particle size and number. So not only are we looking at just LDL as a number, and if it's high, let's put somebody on a statin, but let's look closer and examine what that LDL particle size and number actually is. Are they large fluffy particles, or are they the small dense particles? ApoB, which measures the total number of atherogenic particles, the type of particles that put you at risk of heart disease. And lipoprotein A, which is a genetically influenced marker that can increase cardiovascular risk. Most of these are not part of routine testing, but they can be requested through your doctor. So the key takeaway here is that if your cholesterol numbers look off, or if you're trying to get a better understanding of your real cardiovascular risk, these extended panels, these extended tests are worth asking your doctor about. It's also important to remember that cholesterol is just one part of the metabolic puzzle. If your blood sugar is high, your insulin is high, and your triglycerides are elevated, then your cholesterol profile has likely been impacted, even if your LDL numbers appear normal. And that is why we need to look at these numbers in context as a whole, not in isolation.
Are you ready to take charge of your diabetes health? Dr. Jedha's T2 diet program has been clinically proven in a randomized controlled trial to dramatically reduce A1C, weight, and medications in just 16 weeks. The T2 diet program will guide you step by step to discover an eating plan that feels natural and sustainable for you, and most importantly, works to get results. Learn more and join the program today at type2diabetestalk.com/programs.
By now, it should be clear that the cholesterol issues seen in type 2 diabetes and prediabetes are not random. They are a direct result of metabolic dysfunction, and while that sounds complicated, it simply means your metabolism has become altered. So let's look more closely at some of the key drivers behind that dysfunction and the metabolic alterations, because these are the things we want to target when improving cholesterol naturally. Firstly, high blood sugar. When your blood sugar is elevated over time, it signals to your body that energy is abundant. In response, the liver starts converting that excess energy into fat, particularly triglycerides, and especially when there is too much carbohydrate intake. As we discussed earlier, these triglycerides are packaged into very low density lipoprotein particles, the VLDL particles, which then contribute to the pool of LDL cholesterol in your bloodstream. The second factor is high insulin levels. Insulin is a storage hormone. Chronically high insulin not only contributes to fat storage, it also activates the enzymes that drive triglyceride production in the liver. Insulin resistance also disrupts the normal recycling and breakdown of cholesterol, which further compounds this metabolic issue. Another factor is fatty liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is so very common in people with pre and T2 diabetes, and it plays a big role in altering cholesterol metabolism. A fatty liver is less effective at clearing excess lipoproteins from the blood, and it tends to overproduce those VLDL particles, which leads to more triglycerides and more small, dense LDL particles. Then there's inflammation and oxidative stress. Chronic low-grade inflammation can damage the delicate balance of lipids in the blood. Oxidation of LDL particles, particularly those small, dense ones, makes them more likely to contribute to plaque buildup. And high blood sugar and high insulin both contribute to inflammation. So again, it ties back to metabolism and the alterations that are occurring. So while cholesterol might be the number that gets flagged on your blood test, The root causes often stem from poor blood sugar regulation, high insulin, insulin resistance, and impaired nutrient handling, so changes in the way your body is handling nutrients. And this is why targeting the underlying metabolic drivers is so important. Before we move on to discuss how to rebalance your altered metabolism, let's hear a testimonial from one of our members.
Peggy said, "When I found out I had diabetes, I thought it was over for me as far as everything I loved to eat. Well, it's different now because DMP has helped me manage it. I've lost 15 pounds and my numbers are 6.4. I wanted to thank this site for helping me so much."
Now that we've explored how diabetes and cholesterol are connected and the key drivers behind cholesterol in insulin resistance, let's talk about what actually works to bring your cholesterol levels into a healthier range. The first place to start is always your nutrition. Not by cutting out fat, but by focusing on lowering your blood sugar and insulin levels, because these are the root drivers of the metabolic issues that influence your cholesterol. A lower carbohydrate nutrition plan is one of the most effective ways to do this. By reducing carbohydrates, particularly refined carbs and added sugars, you reduce blood sugar spikes, lower insulin demand, and naturally reduce the liver's production of triglycerides and VLDL particles. When people shift to a lower carb, whole foods-based, nutrient-dense way of eating, the type of eating plan we provide with people and help people learn about, we often see a significant drop in triglycerides, an increase in HDL cholesterol, a shift in LDL from small dense particles to larger, more neutral particles, and in many cases improvements in overall metabolic markers like fasting insulin, A1C and waist circumference. This is not just theoretical. These are the real results we see in clinical trials and in real-world outcomes of our members. So what does this look like in practice? Before we explore these tips, a quick reminder for our members to go to your health maps to find a detailed step-by-step plan for lowering cholesterol naturally that includes targeting specific aspects and exactly what to do with foods and supplements as well. But in brief, for our listeners, here are a few important things to do. Focus on eating nutrient-dense, unprocessed foods. This means plenty of non-starchy vegetables, quality protein sources like meat, poultry, seafood and eggs, the yolks included, and natural fats found in foods like avocado, olives, nuts and seeds. Avoid highly processed foods, especially those made with seed oils, added sugars and refined grains. Then there are some foods that have specific benefits for improving cholesterol. So let's run through some of these. These include fatty fish like salmon, sardines and mackerel, which are high in omega-3 fatty acids that help lower triglycerides. Nuts, especially almonds and walnuts, which have been shown to raise HDL and lower LDL. Olive oil and avocado, which are rich in monounsaturated fats that support healthy cholesterol ratios. Vegetables, high in soluble fibre like Brussels sprouts, asparagus and artichokes, which help bind and eliminate excess cholesterol. Flax seeds and psyllium husk, both of which are excellent sources of soluble fibre with well-documented benefits for lowering cholesterol and blood sugar. Green tea and turmeric, which may help reduce that LDL and improve antioxidant status. Foods naturally containing plant sterols like seeds, nuts and certain vegetables, which can help reduce cholesterol absorption in the gut. And there are supplements that can also play a helpful role depending on your needs, but food comes first and supplements are there to support a strong foundation. And again, for our members, we have a detailed map on how to choose the right supplements for your situation. Outside of diet, several lifestyle factors can also contribute to improve lipid profiles. Daily movement is essential. Certainly you don't need to go and run a marathon, because even taking a walk, as we've explored in previous episodes, really helps lower blood sugar and can help improve lipid metabolism as well. Sleep also matters. Poor sleep increases insulin resistance and inflammation, which can negatively affect your cholesterol profile and your overall metabolism. So it helps to shift that metabolism, that altered metabolism, back to normal. And that's quality sleep. So this is really important to focus on too. So when you address the drivers of poor cholesterol through your nutrition, your lifestyle, and your daily choices, you're not only improving a number on a blood test, you are supporting your entire metabolic system that keeps your body healthy. And that is the most important thing. So let's bring this all together. Can diabetes cause high cholesterol? The answer is yes, but not in the way most people think. It's not about eating too much fat or cholesterol in your food. It's about what happens when blood sugar and insulin levels are consistently high. That altered metabolic state affects the way your body processes and transports fats, leading to higher triglycerides, lower HDL, and more harmful small dense LDL particles. Standard cholesterol tests often miss the full picture, which is why looking at things like your triglyceride to HDL ratio or requesting an extended lipid panel can provide more useful insights for you. But at the end of the day, the real solution is to address the root cause by lowering blood sugar, improving insulin sensitivity, and shifting toward a whole foods, lower carbohydrate nutrition plan. You support better cholesterol function at every level. And then you add in regular movement, quality sleep, stress management, the right supplements, and you're giving your body the whole conditions it needs to thrive. And by doing all those things, cholesterol levels usually balance out on their own. No medications necessary. So if you need help to lower your cholesterol, well, if you're one of our members, you have all our guidelines to follow, along with that health map on lowering cholesterol, which will take you step by step through exactly what to do to improve your levels. If you're not one of our members yet, please consider joining us. We provide you with science-backed resources that actually work, plus real support to ensure you achieve and maintain the health goals you're aiming for. Please visit our website to check out the options. For now, remember, your health is an investment, not an expense, so keep prioritising you. See you next week. Dr. Jedha, over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to Type 2 Diabetes Talk. Please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. And for episode replays, episode notes, and more, visit type2diabetestalk.com. New episodes are available Tuesdays, 10 a.m. US Eastern Time, or your time zone equivalent. Thanks again. We're truly grateful to be a part of your life and help make a real difference.